product for that customer, and you have a business model for that customer. Another way that you can do it is that you can have more customers, you can have more products, and you can have more risks. We call this an end-sided market. So in other words, if you have to have buyers and sellers, that's two different groups that you need to bring to the table. And rather than that being twice as hard, it's the square as hard. And the more different groups that you have to bring, the more exponentially difficult it is to satisfy all those different groups. It is really hard to sell one product to one person and nail that.
What is the same group? Does it both buyer and seller? Would it still be harder to make them become a seller after they bought?
Say that one more time, sorry.
If it's the same group, would it also be harder to make these guys change from being buyers to sellers?
If it's the question is, if it's the same group, would it be harder to
There are buyers and sellers.
The buyers and sellers are the same group?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I do, commercial real estate brokerage stuff, where you have a tenant and a landlord, and sometimes they switch. Same group.
Yep.
That's one-sided market. It's not an end-sided market.
Okay.
Where eBay, where you have to have vendors and you have to have buyers, that's a two-sided market. Healthcare, you have payers, you have providers, and you have patients. Three-sided market.
Yep.
I could do this all day, but it's exponentially harder. I mean, Google got out of Google Health. This is way too hard of a problem to solve. And so we're just trying to point out that it gets really, really hard when you take more and more and more people that you have to bring to the table.
Or another thing that happens is you have to think of, you have customers are the people that pay you money. You have users who don't pay you money. And sometimes in some businesses, you're really selling the users to the customers. So the user's attention is the product. And people make the mistake of just focusing on users and not focusing on customers. We're just focusing on one customer group and not on the other. You have to realize it's harder because you need both of those to work, and you need them to work together. So that's what makes that harder.
Okay, so if you go out and talk to people who look at how to value a startup or what's important, the number one most important thing is traction. Traction means customers. Could be non-paying customers, but it's people actually using your software. Number two is your team. How experienced is your team? Do they believe that you can pull this off? Number three is social proof. Social proof means that they can go ask somebody else that you don't know that will introduce you to them. Like in the world of angels and venture capitalists, they probably won't meet with you on a blind email. But if someone that they really like says, hey, you should talk to these guys, that'll happen. And fourth is your business model. So it's all about getting traction. If you look at traction, you have profit, you have revenues, pilot customers, non-paying customers, validated hypotheses, and not validated. So what our idea is to get you as close to profit as you can, because what you're doing is you're decreasing the risk, and if you decrease the risk, people are much more likely to pay attention to you. And even if you're not taking money from someone else, you're decreasing your own personal risk at the same time if you're bootstrapping. Okay, so there are several different canvases. The original business canvas concept was a guy named Alex Osterwalder. He came up with something called Business Model Generation, a great book, I recommend it. He talks about using a business canvas instead of a business plan because it's organic. And this is a one-pager and it changes all the time. Those of you who aren't in the lean challenge should talk to people who are, because they'll tell you about how they change their canvas all the time based upon how they interview people, and we're going to get a lot deeper about this. We like to use the lean canvas because it's SaaS-based. It's by a guy named Ash Moria who came up with this, and this is one that we like to use, and I think probably 95% of the people in the challenge chose to use this too. Go ahead. So the first thing that you do is you create a business canvas. And before you go out and do customer interviews, you need to know what you're doing on your business canvas. If you don't know the answer, it's okay to guess. You know why? Because even the things that you think that you know, you don't know. They're all hypotheses. So Any guess is just as good as any. And experiment. Build 3 to 5 canvases. And once you build 3 to 5, stick them up on the wall and look at them. You're like, I don't like that one. And oh, this one's better. And you'll eventually settle on something. So, problem and customer segment. Oh, it's you.
I thought it was you, but.
Okay, I'll do it. Problem customer segments. So what we're going to do in our canvas first is we're going to talk about problems and customer segments. Customer segments are who is your target market. And it's really hard. At first, people are really, really broad, and then they realize that they have to really get close. And change, and you learn like who is going to buy your stuff. Problems are what problems that they have. Well, the biggest problem why most people fail is that they think that they know the solution, but they don't know what the problem is. And so they're not really solving any problem at all.
So really, for a startup, you're in either a new market or resegmenting an existing market. So that customer segment is really important. You may be thinking of this in terms of where your business is eventually going to go, and of course everyone in the world is your customer, et cetera, et cetera. But really, what you're looking for is early evangelists, right? There are people that have a big enough problem that is very hard to solve, and they're working hard to try to solve that problem, and they're just looking for a solution. And when they find a solution, they're going to tell other people that they commiserate with, this is awesome. That's who you're looking for. Those are the people that help you as a startup or doing new product to actually get through the process from idea to a better and better product. So it's okay to narrow down as long as the larger market is big enough. If there's only 5 people with $5 each in their pocket, the whole world will, for this thing, then, find something else. But it's okay to have a smaller segment and be really targeted towards that at the beginning.
And since you brought up like new markets and resegmented markets, new markets are the hardest thing to go into. Before you go into a new market, first thing that you should look for is daily warbucks, because you have to educate people as to why they even need to know about this market, right? So what you want to do is you want to create a novel resegmentation, is looking at the same market in a different way. Super quick story. 2 companies that started at the same time. There was a guy who was a VP of sales at Oracle. His name was Tom Siebel. He started this company called Siebel to build CRM software for large enterprises. And they went out and they took a pretty good market share in CRM for a lot of Fortune 500 companies. They had a really nice growth curve. They did really well. There's another company which started out as 2 programmers. And they built CRM systems for moms and pops, people who Siebel did not even recognize existed because they were after the enterprise. And over time, this company kept listening to their customers, kept pivoting and changing and adding more and more customers. So eventually their curve got to a point where they built a product that was better than Siebel, and the Siebel customers crossed over. Siebel gets acquired by Oracle, and the other company, Salesforce.com. Salesforce.com resegmented the market by taking the people who weren't being addressed by the big CRM companies. So that's a resegmentation. So you want to start with what are the 1 to 3 problems that you're going to solve. You can't go out and interview people if you don't know what problems you want to solve. Forget about the solution. What problems are you trying to address? Who needs those problems solved? Who's the target for this? And then, who are the early adopters? Because not everybody's going to adopt this. Not everybody loves technology. There's only a certain small group of people who will use this. Who are the buyers? I mean, we saw this in the challenge a lot where people couldn't figure out who would pay for it. And that's clearly like really, really important. And then how do you target them? When they're looking for this solution, what do they do? Then you go back to the problem and talk about what are the existing alternatives. What you want to find out is, and this is like, how are they solving the problem now? We'll get into this in the interview. But if they're not solving the problem now, they're not going to pay you to solve it because it's not a problem. What you're looking for is chewing gum, barbed wire, a